All right, so 6 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order. Public Works Commission, Public Works Board. Madison, is it Madison or Misty? Misty, please call the roll.
Mr. Picard?
Here.
Mr. White? Mr. Waters?
Here.
Ms. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Shear? Mr. Palachek?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then we have a approval, correction and approval on the minutes from June 11th. These minutes were posted and sent out ahead of time. If you've had a chance to look at them, I would are in agreement, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Mark and seconded by Greg Waters to approve the minutes. Voice vote of those in favor of say aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving towards the number 4, public comment. Any questions from the public? I don't see anybody in the audience here, but perhaps there's someone online.
There's not anybody online.
None online?
None online.
Okay, so then that item has been dealt with. Now we move to the director's report. And Randy, take it away.
If you can pull that up, Dave, please. So we've had a fairly busy month for June and a portion of July. Slide. Starting with the electric department, we have had a lot of new construction and we had a few call-outs for trees down and that have obstructed power lines, but no overall power outages, just localized. Slide. We've had some tree damage. The one I'm highlighting here was on Prospect last week. Slide. Where this particular tree had a heavy branch come down and it knocked down the services coming from this pole. Slide. And the services were going to these two homes. So both lines were yanked completely out of the system. This is our electrical foreman, TJ. He's starting to pull the wire that we will rerun. Slide. Now Austin gets up in the bucket and he's going to start clearing this problematic tree that's been crowding our power lines. Slide. I singled this picture out because I just wanted to point out this line here. It's a secondary line, but it is still live. It carries 120 volt. Austin is very skilled at this craft. He did not want to shut off power for this entire block or grid. So he's not a cowboy by any means. He's a very safe person, but he threaded in between these two lines with his bucket and is able to get at the obstructions with the tree and still perform his work in a safe way. This picture to me points out so much skill that our linemen have. Slide. And while he's doing that, TJ is up on the weatherheads for the two homes and getting ready to receive the wire right here. Slide. And then he goes down and connects the meters. Slide. We've had some new construction work we've been doing, actually a good deal of new construction work. Slide. Along with housing, townhomes down to the south of town, we are also still completing our College Street project. And that's what I'm highlighting here. This is at College and Ferry on the west side. They are constructing a new pole. We will be doing in about 2 weeks' time some extensive work at this intersection. I'm proposing a alternate traffic route. When we do implement that, I will be putting out a public notice and a localized notice of that detour route. But we believe it's going to be necessary because that narrow road is going to be full of equipment and operators. So I will make available to the board members the proposal for the closure and the alternate routes. Slide. This is, again, Austin up in that pole, making temporary connections. Slide. And this is Lucas. For the same system, he is charging the pad-mounted transformer. And it can be very complicated, and so he stays focused on what he's doing there. Slide. In the street department, we've been very busy, primarily because we've had a good deal of staffing issues, a good deal of turnover. Slide. With the people that we've had to focus on brush pickup again. This is a daily task. Slide. Slide. I just thought I'd point out for the board members where our brush goes. This is the gun sight range where we deposit our brush towards the end of I'm sorry, is that Tyrannia? Yeah, Tyrannia, sorry. Slide. And this is just Rick discharging another load. And we'll run about 10 to 20 loads a day when we are hauling brush out to the gun sight range. Slide. The street department has also been busy mowing, knocking down the high weeds now. We focus a lot in the industrial park area. Slide. And typically the MO for this procedure is a lot of the brush does get pushed out into the road, but then the crew comes back with a skid steer and a brush and pushes it back off or just scoops it up. Slide. And then we do a good deal of street sweeping right now, whenever we have rains. Slide. And slide. Now, I wanted to single out these three gentlemen, not just because they're such handsome devils, but we have been having staffing issues, a lot of turnover. Our foreman retired after a very long career with the city, but he retired a bit early, and it's left us struggling. And I point out these three because they have just been working hard. They've picked up a lot of the extra slack. We should be back at full staff in about 2 weeks, and we are building this staff around these three gentlemen here. Especially after Town and Country Days, when it was the Monday after Town and Country Days, we got caught in a very unfortunate circumstance with trying to get the roads open and swept and all the signs pulled up, and these three just picked up all the extra work, did all the extra hustle without complaining to me, and it's such a, just for lack of a better word, a blessing to me to have these three and to be able to build up our street department around them now. This is Kyle Zybel, the young fellow in the middle is Rick Hines, and then this is Ryan Krieger here. So I just wanted to signal them out, and I'm just thankful that they've been able to help us keep going in the street department. Slide. In wastewater, it's been a lot of routine maintenance. Slide. Focused primarily on our lift stations, and focused primarily on the other side of the lake for the 3 lift stations we have over there. Slide. This particular lift station, it's one that I personally am not as used to. The pumps are on the top of it. I'm used to submersible pumps, but because of the inlet for this lift station is so low, they had to construct one with the 2 pumps on the top. Because of this, the trick is that air can often get into that system, and once it does, it shuts down. So Jim and Ben here spend a lot of time maintaining these 3 different lift stations we have over there. They're constantly bleeding the lines, getting all the air out, pushing it out, and making sure they're primed. This is a great deal of maintenance is required on their part. They're very diligent about it, and we're very glad that they are. Slide. And slide. Water Department, we had an exciting week. This week for one of our wells, we had a rehab done. Slide. Slide. So I don't want to call out exactly which well it is. If you want to know, ask me, but just for security reasons, I try to not identify specifically where all of our water systems exist at. Yeah. So, but in this particular well, all 3 of the wells have a hole in the roof or a lid, and it's just for this purpose. So we can open that up, and then we set a crane down in there, and we're able to start pulling out the liner for that well, which is what is happening here. Slide. Slide. And you can see here, this is the liner, and they're actually getting ready to pull out the blade system at the bottom of the liner. This is about 110 feet down in a shaft that's about 600 feet. Slide. And that's the shaft right there. I'll show you a better, or the propeller system. I'll show you a better picture in a minute. Slide. And this is it laying on the ground. It has 3 bowls here in the middle. And this is the drive shaft here where the motor turns and it propels the water up the shaft. It was due for a service, a replacement. We are going to have this one serviced. It was still in decent condition, so it's going to be rehabbed and brought back to Lake Mills in the near future, and I'll keep that in reserve. Slide. And this is a crew now reinstalling a pipe. Slide. And this is the drive shaft that goes down to that propeller system. Slide. And slide. We've also been maintaining some of our facilities. One of our tanks, we blast it first and then we're repainting it here, recoating it, just to help prevent corrosion. Slide. And poor Andrew was tasked with this assignment. He wasn't happy about it, but he did it very well. Slide. Upcoming, or the project's going on right now. I might have put that in misorder. I'll start with the TAP grant project. We are at substantial completion with the TAP grant project. All the concrete is in. We are now in the punch list stage. The contractor has made a pay request for their third pay request. Dwayne and I are holding contingency of $15,000 in contingency. We will continue to hold that until the punch list item is complete and we're satisfied with the work, and then they can apply to have that paid out to them. Slide. Slide. So this is up in Fayetteville Park. They're already able to mow the grass that was planted about a week and a half ago. Slide. And that is Bauer, right? Bauer and Brewster, sorry. And Tyranina. Slide. And here, this is in front of the Badger dealership. Slide. Now, I point this out. This is near the market. And one thing that is outstanding for the project is we are still waiting for a crosswalk here. It's going to be a trombone arm coming across and flashing when pedestrians are using the crosswalk. This has been on back order for some time. These are materials that have been hard to get for the last 4 years or so. But it is scheduled to arrive, I haven't been informed what that final schedule is yet. Slide. This is the same area, just with another angle, just to show you that we will be installing a pedestal here, a pole, and then a trombone, and the lighting system. Slide. And now I just threw in some before and afters for everyone. This is on Marguerite. This is a before picture. We did lay the sidewalk here. Slide. And now the grass is coming in nicely. Slide. Before and slide. And after. Slide. This is on Madison and Marguerite. Slide. And that's, I believe, it's come together very nicely. We're satisfied so far, Dwayne and I, with this. Slide. And then this is back at Brewster and Tyranina. Slide. So, slide. Then a little progress on Brookstone. The gas lines are in. Slide. And they are currently putting down the base stone for the sidewalks, which are scheduled to be poured next week. Once that's done, then we're going to be looking at pavement. Slide. And this is just the base stone you're seeing here. Slide. We did have a special event. Slide. The Department of Public Works entered 4 vehicles into the parade for the Town and Country Days this year. Slide. Many of the crew with families were invited to come, and many participated. We have a number of our linemen and road crew here, street crew, and our fleet mechanic with their families. And just by default, my family had to attend as well. Slide. And we enjoyed it. It was a good time. We were able to put some of the kids up into one of the bucket trucks, the digger truck. Slide. Slide. And that should be the end of the presentation. Slide. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Randy? Nope, guess not.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Then we move on to the next item, which is the bid awards, the recommendations, and I'll turn it over to Dwayne on the chip seal maintenance.
Thank you. And while Dave's getting our PowerPoint together, just have a couple slides to talk about. Little background. Typically, probably for the last 7 years, we've used Jefferson County and coordinated with our staff to do chip seal in the city. Over the spring, the county sold their chip spreader, but intended to rent a machine and still do the work. We found out on June 5th that they officially were not going to provide those services this year. So Randy and I adjusted. We looked at the program with the budget. We looked at the two contractors, Scott Construction and Farner Asphalt. We had two bid items in the list. One is the chip seal with granite chips, which is typically what we use. And then the second item was to discuss sweeping and cleanup. The unit price is $1.94 and for the chip seal, and the sweeping and cleanup is 10 cents. And I'll get into a little bit of the way we set the contract up. We asked the contractor to do the first sweeping, the major sweeping that occurs typically 48 hours after the initial installation. The city staff will still do things like the final cleanup, the manhole covers, the inlet protections, and so we'll still coordinate with the contractor, and we wrote the contract to do that, to try and keep these prices down, similar to where they were with the county. One of the concerns that Randy and I had was that we were going out to bid. We were going out to bid in July. And we anticipated that the prices would have actually been a lot higher. So we were very pleased this morning at $1.94. And I'll show you on some future slides. Greg, did I answer your question that you were looking for?
Thank you.
Okay. Next slide, please. This is a revised map. Through this process on June 13th, Randy and I revised this map from the original chip seal program. We were anticipating probably seeing $3 a square yard versus what you'll see in a minute, $1.44 last year. So we were anticipating twice as much cost. We actually came out not that much higher, about 50 cents a square yard than last year. But what we looked at in this new map is we pushed everything away from the school areas so that we could try and lengthen the amount of time that this contractor had to finish the work. Chip seal is very weather dependent. It needs to be dry, it needs to be warm. So we set a date of September 13th as our completion date. What we were concerned about is typically we try to set a completion date with the county to complete before school starts. So there is a chance that this might overlap into the fall. So with that, what we did is we said, okay, let's take all of the streets that were east and south of Lake Street that were in our program back in March when it was approved by both the Public Works Board and the council. And we applied that, and that created our 78,000 square yards. Next slide, please. This is a comparison. The first column obviously is the year, and the next column is the contractor that did the work. Third column is the unit price in the year that it occurred. And then in the final right column, what I tried to do is convert to $2024 the unit price with a 3.5% inflation rate. The reason I use 3.5 is because you'll note that the last time Scott Construction had our chip seal program was in 2016. Their price was $1.48. Converted to $2024 at 3.5% interest is $1.95, which is very similar to the price that we received today. But you can see how the price was higher in 16 and 17 and how the price was lower through the years that Jefferson County did the work. Now, part of that is we were coordinating very closely with the county, and they were able to price their product out emulsion versus the work that they did themselves. So we were charged only for their labor and their materials. Next slide, please. This is a little budget review. If you recall, Lake Mill, or LM 124 was a concrete bid, which came in at about 91,000. This bid, 224, is for 151 for a total of 243. Our original budget for sidewalk and street maintenance is 315,000, so this is still well under the budget. Year to date in that account is roughly under $4,000. So that leaves a remaining amount of about 60 to 70,000 for other patching, asphalt patches, other unforeseen costs on street maintenance throughout the year. And I'll add that the contract also would allow for an increase in the amount of streets that we could do at that $1.94. So there probably could be a street or two that we could adjust if necessary. I think that's all. Randy, did you have anything else you wanted to add? That was the last slide, correct, Dave? Is there any questions?
How many feet of street did you remove from the original plan, approximately? Or blocks,
Was it yards, right?
or yards, or percentage?
Yeah.
Whatever unit you want to use.
I want to say it was about half because we were anticipating about $1.50
Okay.
with the county. And when we were putting together, we were estimating about $3.
Right.
So
Thanks.
for the most part, I would say 50-50, but if you need an exact number, I can get it.
Do you pick that up in future years, next year then? You kind of
And so then,
back.
yes, we
That's the
could.
goal.
Or-
That's the goal, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And what we'll have to talk about, or what we'll talk with the council about, is if there are dollars available, whether or not those dollars can move forward into 2025 with the budget in 25, and then try to catch back up in the portions that were probably not going to be finished this year.
Thank you.
I have a question just about the, when you say you coordinated really closely with Jefferson County for that pricing that you got like last 5 years or so.
Right.
How's that different than if Scott did it now? What's that, when you say coordinating more closely versus like it's yours to manage it?
Well, because we have to bid it, in the case with the county, we were able to work daily, even in the weeks heading up into it, about, all right, our staff will do these covers, or your staff's going to put up the signage, or our staff's going to do the mailer notices on the doorknobs. Those kind of conversations. What's different when we get to the bid is Randy and I have to say that up front last week or 2 weeks ago when we finalized the contract that went to the contractor. And so now we're kind of tied to what we said we would do, and they're tied to what they're saying they have to do under the contract.
Got it. So it's negotiating scope versus like putting it in a bid outline for scope.
Right.
Okay.
And so we were able to really be flexible in, if Jefferson County staff was not available to do some things, we were able to maybe pick up the slack.
We could make on-site decisions
Right.
when working
Yeah.
with Jefferson, and now we have to pre-plan everything
Yeah.
to the detail.
And I'm not saying that it won't, it's worked well in the past as well in 16 and 17. It's just that we then are now tied to that contract once we award it.
And with your adjusted rates for Scott's bid, you said that's basically a check more or less to see that it's in line with inflation rates, that it's like where it should, expected where it should be.
That's exactly what I was trying to show. It was, if we took 2016s and really 3.5% interest over the last 8 years, that's probably pretty good. I mean, there are a number of years in there where inflation was much higher than that.
14% on some construction materials.
Correct. So I'm actually very pleased with the number when it came out. Like I said, my estimate was closer to 3. So I was very pleased this morning. Any other questions?
Great.
Do we know what the county's plans are for chip seal in the future?
The county,
Yeah.
as far as I've been told, they're done.
Okay.
They sold their equipment. They are looking just to do paving, and for the most part, we bid our paving contract typically. The county has gone away from the, I'm trying to think of the term, there was a shared fund that a lot of times the city would fund, let's say $10,000, the county would reimburse $10,000, and then when we did our chip seal program, when they sent the bill, they would subtract $20,000 from our bill. That program as well has gone away from the county, that type of shared revenue. And so not only has that gone away, but so has the chip seal program with the county. Now, the county also didn't do just work for us. They did chip seal for townships, other cities and villages in the county, as well as for other counties. So this has been a little change, and we were a little surprised by the final solution this year. We fully anticipated that they would have continued to do it this year and maybe made the final decision next year. But on June 5th, we found out we had to move forward with this bid.
So to clarify, the shared service is there other programs that are being used for that shared service?
That program has ceased at the county level.
Okay.
So we, as the city or the council, has not had to put forth those dollars this year because that program ended in '23.
So is there any other programs we need to plan around that was based on that shared service?
I think the program went away, so
So it was only chip seal? There was no other programs associated to that?
it was any program that the county, you could get reimbursed based on work that the county did, whether that is maintenance on a culvert or chip seal or paving or other items. For the last 7 or 8 years, for the city of Lake Mills, it was the chip seal program, was more than enough to cover that 20,000 or so.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Dwayne? Now, do you need a recommendation from us on this?
So
Scott?
the ask is if you would like to make a motion to the council, or a motion for the council, that would be.
That's what you need. Well, we've heard Dwayne's proposal here. I would entertain a motion to accept the low bid by Scott Company.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the city council approve the chip seal low bid by Scott's.
Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved by Mark that this Public Works Board accepts the Scott bid and recommends to the council to approve that, and been seconded by Aaron. And I think we need a roll call vote, don't we? Let's take a roll call vote on that.
Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner?
Aye.
Mr. Shear? Mr. Polachek?
Aye.
Mr. Picard?
Aye.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. So then we go to item number 7, and is there a recommendation on future topics that we would like to discuss at upcoming meetings? Hearing none, we move to number 8, which is the adjournment, and I hereby declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Hey.